Are you trying to create a map for your novel or for your RPG campaign, but you're not quite sure where to start? Well, map making can be a lot of fun, but it can also be a little bit difficult. One of the most important features to pay attention to is going to be your mountain ranges. Mountains with fantasy maps are oftentimes what define borders. They're oftentimes going to be some kind of impenetrable defense that other armies can't get across, depending on the technology. And plus, mountains just look really cool and they show that the land has a little bit of character. So for this bit, we're going to start by actually showing you how to create a couple mountain ranges, and some are going to be a little bit easier than others, but you know what? Do whatever works for your book or campaign. Now first, we're just going to start off with the absolute basic mountains. And these are the ones that are just going to have kind of a little spike like this, and you just draw them down the page or across the page, however far you want to go. And what's nice about these mountains is they are very easy to draw. It's very obvious that these are, in fact, supposed to be elevated parts of your map, but there's a little bit more that can be done with them. Now, one nice thing, too, is that if you are creating a mountain range, you can really quickly add more mountains to it. That's a really nice feature. But one thing that I really enjoy to do when I'm creating mine is I like to give a little bit of dimension. So I'm just going to come in here with the pencil and thinking about the idea that if these are mountains and if the sun is going to be coming from some direction, either going to be coming from the left or from the right, it's going to cast a shadow. So the easiest way to give these guys a little bit more character is to add in the shadow. So I'm just going to start by shading on one side, but then I'm going to kind of wiggle my pen there like that. So now this mountain has a little bit of ridge, and by wiggling it back and forth, it makes it a little bit uneven, which gives a little bit of character. So I'm just going to do that down the line here, and then because it's a mountain range, I'll just connect it to my other mountain here, just like that, and as you're seeing, we're getting shading on the one side, so it's making this stuff pop just a little bit. Here I'm just going to add like so, here I'm just going to add like so, and down the line. Now you noticed before, I showed a little bit more complicated one, and those are the styles that I actually do from my book because I really like them. And yes, that map that I showed at the beginning, that is actually one of the maps for my Firebrand series. And I use these kind of mountains, though, because, like I said, they're great for fillers, and they're also great for depicting foothills. And boom, there we have really, really simple mountains. Well, the ones that I enjoy the most are the ones that have a little bit more depth to them. So I come from Alaska. We've got some pretty good mountains. Naturally, I've got some pretty good inspiration. And here's a really cool trick that I like to do. So I'll start here, and I'm going with my pen because it's going to be really, necessary for getting some of the lines in there. I'm just going to make an interesting little shape, just like this. It's kind of a weird extra M. Okay. So far, so good. Then I'm going to make another shape right next to it, like so. Then I'm going to come down and I'm going to add in another one here. And you'll notice here that because of what I'm adding, they're pretty big suckers as opposed to over on the side here, little guys that I can add on. So you're going to understand what I was meaning about how you can add more to a range here than you can necessarily here. And then, you know what, I'm just going to slide this up because I've got the room to work with. I'm just going to add one final one down here, like so. There. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat each of these mountains kind of as the top of a ridge. So I'm going to draw a ridge line here, and I'm just going to kind of zigzag it back and forth, just like that. Then what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to do another ridge line, but I'm actually going to touch it to this one. So I'll kind of do a little back and forth here, just like that, and then that comes in there. This one, I'm just going to reconnect it right to there, and then I'm going to draw this one. I'm going to connect it down into here, just like that. And then this one, I'm going to connect it down to here. Now, like I said, these are the ridge lines, so imagine that this is all one mountain range, and then the ridge line will come along and essentially be connecting all of them together. So I've got those ridge lines, but then I'm going to draw in some diagonals down the mountain to define the ridge lines even more, just like that. I'm going to do that one there like that, and now that ridge line looks like it's got a little mountains coming out from there. Come over to here like this, add a few more coming down here like that. and connecting these ones like so. And again, that's my big one. That's my big ridge. I'm keeping that as the guide. So then come in, add a few more, just like so. And what I'm doing here is I'm kind of giving all of these their own identity, making them all their own mountains. And then I come down like that. And you'll note there is a lot of lines. Well, we are going to go back and we are going to do some shading just like the other one because it helps define them just a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is going with the idea here. If I had the sun coming from over on this side, then it'll cast a shadow over here. I'll do the same thing. So I'll say my sun is over here and then shining down that way. So it'll cast a shadow on the side. And now you got to pay attention specifically to what your ridge lines are, because if you don't, if you color in the wrong spots, it's not the end of the world, but it does look kind of a little weird. So starting here, I'll just start my shading just like that. And as you can see, that now makes that side of the mountain all a little bit more defined. Well, there's one more thing too with these ones that we did. And you notice that these little extra peaks, I like to have them in there because then it'll give a little bit more of a definition. But I'm going to draw a ridge line connecting down to each mountain there. So then when I come in and I actually color this part in, just like so, I've got that extra bit, but that is now technically going to be lit. So I'm just going to shade a little bit on the side. And so now we've got a little peak that's just sticking up. And then here, that's all sunny side, that's sunny side, but then right here, that's going to be shaded. So I'm going to just do the same thing to the rest of these mountains. So I'm just going to start here. I'm just going to shade that, then come in here, and I'm going to shade this part here, just like that. And now bear in mind, I'm just doing this fast, so if you want to take your time, by all means, I encourage it. I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to fill in these lines right now, just because I can. Ooh, you know what? That's going to be kind of a long one. I'm just going to make another ridge right here, just like that. Yeah, just kind of cheating. But you know what? It's my world, so I can cheat as much as I want. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to shade here again, just like that. Shade this side, but I'm just going to pay attention to that right there. And then I'm coming back up here. I'll just start at the top now. That's a cool thing about drawing these. I can essentially do whatever I want whenever I want, so long as it gets done. So it doesn't really matter what stage you shade what part. And you'll notice that here I've got the lines in here. Some people like having the lines because then it makes it look a little bit more like part of the ridge itself. Other people like to shade those lines in. Alrighty, so you went there, that one, that one, that one. Still got to finish here. And as you're noticing, this one's kind of tucked in a little bit more. So some of that is going to run over on there, but for the most part, a lot of it's going to stand on its own. So I'll add that there. That's the thing there. That one there. And we still got this last little piece right in there like that. So now we've got a few mountain ridges. We've got another big sucker there that's kind of stuck onto the side. Well, here's where I like to say that going back to these guys is really going to be helpful, because by having the small mountains there, I can use them to make nice little foothills. So I'm just going to add one right there. I'm going to add one right there. I'll tuck one right in there. You know what? Maybe he's got one there. Maybe there's going to be one there. If you're familiar with Bob Ross, maybe these mountains have some friends. If trees can have friends, why can't mountains have friends? So I'll just add a couple foothills here. And what's nice about adding foothills, if you just think about regular geography, oftentimes the mountains are going to kind of transition just a little bit. So it's not just going to be a very abrupt end. It's going to kind of fade into a little bit shallower hills. So now that I've got my foothills added in, now I'm just going to shade that again, just like I did before. Also, because I've got these guys drawn in the way I did, I'm going to bring the edges down to the mountains themselves. So there, I'm just going to add a little bit right there. This one, you know what? I'll just bring that all the way down there. Here, he's got a little Here it'll come down to here. This one will come down to here. Then we'll add these guys. Just like so. And just going around the side. Touch on these ones here. I'll just fill that part in there. Why not? We'll bring that one all the way down to it. I'll just bring that line down to there. Okay, cool, that looks good. Then, once again, just gonna shade. And the thing you'll notice too, I'm not being exact because having a little bit of the overlap, a little bit of the sloppy, gives it a little bit more of a natural look. And that's cool, that's good. And so, boom, there we go. In a very short amount of time, we just created a nice mountain range and some pretty cool foothills. And, adding these guys in periodically to your map, just going to give the sense of kind of grand mountains. And that's another thing that I like. When you've got the small ones next to the big ones, naturally, these ones are going to be interpreted as smaller hills to your audience. But then you look at these kind of guys, you're going to be looking at like your Swiss Alps, you're going to be looking at your Rocky Mountains, you might be looking at your Brooks Range, like the Alaska, you might be looking at your Himalayas. So I mean, we're talking big mountains if you see something like that on a map. So hope this was a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope that your maps turn out the way that you want them to. If you're familiar with my channel, awesome. If not, my name is Stefan. I write fantasy, I create art, and I just try to have a lot of fun on here while helping you guys create things and create your books. So take care, and if you enjoyed this, please give it a like. Please also subscribe. Take care. Have a good one.